Welcome everybody. This is Crime with Boom Wine. If you're new to my channel, thank you for stopping by. I appreciate you for coming. I'm happy to have you. If you've been here before, welcome back. My name is Tamara and I'll be bringing you both solved and unsolved crimes that took place right here in the Caribbean. So if crime and mystery is what you're into, then you're definitely in the right place. So please go ahead, like, share, and subscribe to my channel. Let's hop over to the land of Calypso. Let's hop over to the land of Calypso. Yeah, we're going to Trinidad and Tobago to dig into this horrific, this shocking, horrific case of Andrea BHARATT. Fun-loving and creative Andrea BHARATT was born on June 10th, 1997. She was smart, very, very smart, and she had her eyes set on one goal, and that is to be called Dr. BHARATT. So she went on to study at the University of the West Indies, and she gained a bachelor's degree in science, sociology, and a minor in criminology. Andrea's mom died when she was a little girl, and her father, Randolph BHARATT, he raised her, and by all accounts, Andrea and her father had a wonderful, very, very close, tight-knit relationship. And he even had the sweetest nickname for Andrea. Get ready for this. Pig. Like, how sweet is that? After completing her studies at the University of the West Indies, Andrea got a job as a clerk at the Arima Magistrate Court. A few months in, Andrea was enjoying her job and she had settled in quite well. But on a normal work day on the 29th of January, Andrea got into a taxi along with her co-worker to make their way home. Now, this is where the story gets interesting, and this is where it takes a turn for the worse. Just like that. 2 hours after getting into the taxi, Andrea was nowhere to be found. Like, she just disappeared off the face of the earth. She vanished, and that was it. Nobody knew where she was. Now at home, her father got a bad feeling that something was just wrong. Andrea was not a person who was very outgoing. She did not lime a lot or hang out a lot. She just had her routine. She went to work and she came home. And after her time that she's normally home, after that time passed, everybody became worried. And so her father did what any dad would do. He picked up the phone and he proceeded to call his daughter to find out where she was. Now, although somebody answered the phone, it was not Andrea. And instead, his worst fears, they were confirmed when someone else answered the phone and told Andrea's father that if he wanted to see his daughter again, he would have to pay a ransom, or Andrea's body parts would be sent to him. Now, he couldn't believe what he was hearing and he was shocked. So he hung up the phone. Then he quickly realized, oh, this was a mistake. I need to talk to these people and at least find out where my daughter is and come to a common understanding with them so we could work something out. So he called them back. The person on the other end of the line, they weren't interested in having a conversation. So Mr. Randolph did the next best thing, which was to contact the police. And so that's what he did. And the search for Andrea began. Now, few days went by, time going, and still no sign of Andrea. And a lot of media attention began circling around this case and the disappearance and the possible kidnapping of a young girl. It was all over social media. All the other Caribbean countries were talking about it. And Mr. Randolph took this opportunity to plead with whoever had Andrea to at least let him hear her voice so that he would know she was okay. He begged, he went so far as to apologize to whoever had Andrea and the persons who answered the phone, telling them that he was sorry for not being cooperative or for whatever mistake he might have made while he was on the phone with them. And he was quote saying, "I hope and pray that they let her go. They don't harm her and she reaches home safe." A $50,000 reward was offered to persons, anybody who had information that would lead police to Andrea's whereabouts. And the search continued, and people were looking for her. By this point, the whole country was invested in finding Andrea. And so the reward climbed to $500,000. Now, police is still searching and investigating the disappearance of Andrea. And so they viewed the security camera footage from the home of the co-worker and the surrounding buildings in that area. Now, the footage showed the co-worker getting out of the taxi, which was a white Nissan Versa. And it just seems as though Andrea was just lost, and finding her was becoming a very difficult task. But still, everybody held out hope, and everybody still kept searching and was just hoping that she would return home safely. But sadly, on a cloudy Thursday morning, police and the search and rescue team, they made their way up to Aripo Road after receiving a call that a body of a woman was found. 2 hours after the initial sight of the body, Andrea's father arrived on the scene and confirmed that the body of the already decomposing woman was that of his daughter Andrea. Her body was found in a bushy area at the side of a narrow road overlooking a cliff. And she was facing down and only dressed in underwear and a multicolored top. An autopsy of Andrea's body was done to find out the cause of death, but the first autopsy that was done, it was found to be inconclusive. But the family and the general public, they were not satisfied because they really wanted to know what happened to Andrea. And so a private autopsy was done, and this is where it was revealed that Andrea was hit with a blunt object in her forehead, causing her to fall back and fracturing her skull, which resulted in internal hemorrhaging. Now, with this information, police began investigating Andrea's murder. And so they start piecing together the events that led up to her terrible death. After much questioning and investigations by the police, it was later found that the age license plate on the taxi that Andrea and her co-worker got into was a fake one. Now, a vehicle that has an age license plate, that would mean that it was registered to be hired or to carry passengers. And that would have given Andrea and her co-worker the peace of mind that they needed to get into the taxi, and they probably felt safe. Now, while digging into this case and researching this case, I found that it had a striking similarity to an earlier case that happened in Trinidad, which is the case of Ashanti Riley. And she was also abducted after getting into a taxi, a PH taxi near her home. And then a few days later, her decomposing body was found. It's very similar, right? Was it like a sick-minded individual, a serial killer on the loose, just driving around picking up young women? A lot of questions start running through my mind. There was a motive for that. Why Andrea? Why the ransom? Because her family was not well off. Was it a robbery? Now, these are the questions I found myself asking while digging into this case. And I'm pretty sure these are some of the questions police also wanted the answers to. And they thought they were going to get the answers to these questions when they had their main suspect in police custody. And he was 38-year-old Devon Charles. He was just one of several persons held in the connection to Andrea's murder. But while in police custody, before he could even give police any information as to what happened to Andrea, Charles was injured. He suffered a brain injury and was paralyzed. He went into coma for several days, and then he later died at the hospital. What was interesting about Charles' death is that the police stated that the injuries were caused by him trying to escape police custody. Now, I don't know what kind of escape plan Charles must have had to cause those injuries. It gets even more fishy, because another suspect, Andrew Morris, also died in the hospital after he was in the custody of police. However, his death, it was not reported until 2 days later. Now, I'm thinking to myself, what kind of escape plan these guys had? But both men died without giving much information about Andrea's death, and both men maintained their innocence and said that they had nothing to do with Andrea's murder. But because of the obvious suspicious circumstances surrounding the death of both men, there was an investigation that was launched by the Police Complaints Authority. This investigation, it revealed what we all expected, or we all suspected. The evidence gathered showed that both men were tortured and that they were subjected to multiple acts of violence, which resulted in their deaths. I think that was pretty obvious that trying to escape police custody would not cause brain injuries and for you to be paralyzed and in coma. And I know some people might be thinking, well, so what? They died while in police custody, they were the main suspect, and so they probably got what they deserve. But remember, you're innocent until proven guilty, and it's possible that they might have been innocent. But luckily, not all the suspects died, just the two main ones. And the remaining suspects, 24-year-old Negus George, he was charged with the murder of Andrea BHARATT, and his girlfriend, 37-year-old Giselle Hobson, she was charged with receiving stolen items that belonged to Andrea. On February 12th, Andrea's body was laid to rest. Hundreds lined the streets to show their support to her family and their love for a young girl that only just started to live her life. And she had big dreams ahead of her and goals that she wanted to accomplish. And I have no doubts that Andrea would have lived a full life and she would have achieved her goal. Two women got into a taxi. One made it home alive. Was it just coincidence that Andrea was in the wrong place at the wrong time and she got into the wrong vehicle? They're really serial killers walking around hunting women. Was Andrea targeted? But up to this, the details surrounding the kidnapping and murder of Andrea is still a mystery. Like, nobody knows what happened from the time she got into the taxi, and all those days no one heard from her and she went missing until the day she was found. Nobody knows what happened to her, and it's still a mystery, and many questions are left still unanswered, and the family is still fighting to come to terms with the circumstances surrounding her death. The more you dig into the case, the more questions you ask yourself and the more things you wonder about. It's just very mysterious. But let me know what you think about this case in the comments below. Let's talk about it. Let me know what are your thoughts, what are your feelings about it. Let's discuss it below down there. And yeah, I appreciate you for watching and see you in the next one. Bye.